Hello everyone, welcome to GoTarryn TV. This is Dr. T, PhD, the prodigy of sports psychology, and I'm here to welcome one of our favorite guests right here on today's show, Mr. Billy from the Bump Experiment. Before Billy rejoins us back here on GoTarryn TV, I'd like to ask everyone out there to please make sure to like this video, leave us a comment, and share it with all of your friends and family out there. Now we're going to be having Billy come on here in just a moment, and we're going to catch up with him to see how everything's going on in his world with how he bumps it up around here in Atlanta and everyone else, and also what's going on with the documentary that he's been working on. So a lot to catch up with him. He's on the road right now, so we're going to call him and see if we can just do a brief catch up with him and check in and see how everything is with the Bump Experiment and what Billy's been up to. So can't wait to get him on here, and we will have him on here momentarily. And remember, with GoTarryn Health and Fitness, it's your time, it's your investment, it's your life. We'll be right back. Cool. Well, I guess I'll start right off the bat. How have you been doing?
I've been doing really well. Dealing with a little bit of sciatica, but it's been going on for about 6 weeks, so that's slowing me down a little bit. But otherwise, I'm hanging in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. How about from the accident? I mean, is that still some residual effects, or is that unrelated, or is there anything still there?
No, it's unrelated. I was actually sitting in a hospital with my mom for 4 or 5 days, and I was there pretty much 7/24, and it just caught up with me.
Oh gosh.
But she's doing fine, and I
good.
just got to get past this now. So we're doing everything we can to get me back up and running the way I'm used to running, and I'm hoping it's over with sometime soon. You know,
Yes.
I'm a man on the go.
You really are, Billy. Gosh, I'm sorry about your mother. Is she out of the hospital now, though?
She is.
Good.
She's doing great.
Oh,
She
good.
just had a typical
Good.
procedure, and yeah, she's doing really well.
Oh, that's so nice. Excellent. Well, besides the sciatica, I know that you've been busy. We were going to talk about the latest on the exciting documentary and everything else going up with Bump It Up. So I'll let you kind of take the lead. Just kind of, where have you been with the Bump It Up world, and what's been going on with the documentary? I'll let you start and just take it from there.
Okay, the documentary is slowly moving forward. I never realized. You always hear that something is in the works, and it's in the works because there's so much that has to be done. Right now, a music composer has signed on to do the scores for the different segments of the documentary, and so they've got that done. They're in the process of getting the funding for the documentary and talking to investors. They're coming up with a poster for the movie now. They've sent me something for my approval, and it's good. It's just got a picture of me, so I told them, can we do something else? But they said, Billy, you are the Bump Experiment. I said, I understand that, but I said, can we come up with something else besides that? So they're going back and trying to rethink things. I really don't want my face on the front of it. I don't mind being the person behind the Bump Experiment. I just don't want to be the person in front of the Bump Experiment on the posters. But we'll see. But yeah, I talked to the film director, a couple of times a week. And I'm going to be seeing her again in about 6 weeks, and we're going to meet and talk, and they're trying to develop the script of how they would like to actually proceed shooting it. And hopefully they're hoping maybe in a couple of months something will we can start on it. But they told me it'd be a couple of year process, probably actually doing it.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
From start to finish. So yeah. But it's moving along. It's just taking time to put everything. I had no idea how much work went into something.
Gosh, yeah. I mean, that is so much production, I guess, when you factor in everything that's involved. And I'm sure with all the editing, and they just want to make sure they get the integrity as best as possible. So it makes sense. But to be involved with something like that just sounds so exciting. So can you kind of share what some of the vision that you're thinking of in terms of what you're going to be embedding in this? I'm sure you have a million things that you'd like to, kind of integrate, but what's some of the first kind of stories that pop up in your head that you're thinking like, oh, I've got to make sure this is in that documentary?
That's what we're in the process of right now. We
Mm-hmm.
haven't made any firm decisions. They're trying to figure
Mm-hmm.
out an order. Right now, they have just finally decided that they think they're going to shoot part of it here in Atlanta, in Decatur, where I
Okay.
live. Part of it
Mm-hmm.
will be where I grew up in Eastern
Cool.
North Carolina and also in Columbus, Ohio.
Nice.
So
Okay.
they put the sites, but what they actually have to do is have to make sure they have people in place to shoot it, and they have to
Mm-hmm.
hire crews to do that, and they've
Hmm.
got to put together the team. So they want to make sure they've got all the people in place before they obviously can start the shooting. I've written down a bunch of stories that's talking about people that they would like to include in it. So we're reaching out to
Mm-hmm.
these people. So I mean, it's Taryn, it's I don't even see how they get things done. It takes so
Mm-hmm.
much. They have to get different permits that have been approved. They're
Wow.
still in the process of getting all that done just for shooting. So, but so who knows what's going to end up being? You know, we just keep tossing around ideas, and eventually we'll get to where we're going, and hopefully at the very end of it, somewhere down the road, it'll be a great documentary about how much kindness is out there in the world.
Yeah.
Um, I will tell you something that was interesting. I always tell people they always seem to very often discount what they do. We see things in the media about how somebody does something huge and we think, wow, that's great, but I could never do something like that. And I always tell people don't discount what you do because what you do might be the very thing that that person needs. And I
Mm.
was
Mm.
returning from the hospital stay with my mother, and I was at a rest stop coming back into Georgia, and uh, he was probably 13, 14, 15-year-old young man who had Down syndrome. A lot of times people with Down syndrome, incredibly enjoyable, wonderful kids. There was a
Mm-hmm.
great movie out called Champions with Woody Harrelson, where he became the coach for a group of kids with Down syndrome and other opportunities before them. But the young man engaged me and was talking, and I was talking to him, and his mother wasn't too far behind him, and sister. And
Hmm.
she worried that the fact that he might be, you know, bothering me or something just because he was so outgoing.
Oh.
Um, anyway, I said, "Oh no, no problem at all." And I talked with the family for just a little bit, and I'd asked them if they'd seen the movie. I said, "Y'all got to watch the movie Champions. It's a great family movie." And I had some Starbucks cards in my pocket, and I gave them three. Gave each of them, the mom, the teenage daughter, and the teenage son. And
Oh.
as I started to walk away, the mother rolled down the window and said, "Sir, that's just what I needed today."
Oh, that's so sweet.
So I
Oh.
don't know if it'd been a long drive or,
Hmm.
but that's why we say perfectly how what you think you do. I just gave them three Starbucks cards, and in that moment, that was just what that lady needed after a tough
Hmm.
day or opportunities she'd had so far in trying to get back to her destination. So I always tell people, um, you know, don't discount what you do because you never know what kind of impact that might have. When people say they don't have the time or the money, I constantly remind them your hello might be the only hello
Hmm.
that person gets all day long.
Hmm.
Um, I was at there's a place here in Stone Mountain, Georgia called Side by Side Clubhouse
Mm-hmm.
yesterday. It's for people with brain injuries.
Hmm. Hmm.
That could range from a car accident to a stroke to anything involving your brain. It's a great clubhouse. It's for adults. It sounds like it might be for kids, but it's for adults
Mm-hmm.
where they can come and they can interact with other people who've had different types of injuries, um, you know, brain injuries, whatever theirs were. I
Mm-hmm.
dropped off a computer there that we donated, and I've gotten involved with them. It's just a great organization. When I had my TIA about 3 years ago, it made me realize how fragile our brains actually are. That,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it could take any kind of accident that really alters your life. And these people are just amazing. And there's a gentleman who had been a pastor had been in a motorcycle accident, and unfortunately, because of the brain injury, he was no longer able to lead the church. But he brought up the point of speaking to someone, an individual, and talking to him. And his wife said, "You talk to everybody." And he goes, "The same thing that I just said," because he said, "I might be the only person that has contact with that person today." And we never think about that, Taryn.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
Because so many of us engage with people all the time that there's a whole lot of people that don't get a lot of shut-ins, senior citizens, just a variety of different people don't have those opportunities. So that's why it's nice to have a phone call for somebody to drop by, write a note, just to give them some type of socialization and let you know, hi, there's somebody out there on the other side that actually cares about you.
Oh yeah, certainly. And going back to what you said earlier too, just a few minutes ago with the woman with the Down syndrome son, with recommending that Champions movie, that's another great thing that you did because had you not said that, they might not have even heard of that in terms of going from there and knowing about that movie. But once they see that, they'll, I'm sure, remember, how you recommended it to them, and I'm sure that goes a long way as well.
Well, I always say it takes only one person to care, and all of us would care just a
Hmm.
little, just
Hmm.
to find some way to reach out to somebody, the impact that we could have. You just got to step out and do that. I know everybody has busy days, including myself, but we all just need to find a moment to do something. It's impactful if we only take the time to do it.
No, that's very true. And also interactions just go so, well. And, are you a believer, Billy, with kind of the fate and destiny, just right timing and just how we intersect with people?
I actually am very much so, Taryn. I always tell people I
Hmm.
don't believe in luck or coincidence.
Hmm.
Never
Hmm.
have.
Hmm.
It's just how things work. It's the universe,
Hmm.
a higher power always putting you in place. The thing is, somebody said, Billy, they said this actually to me this week, one of my clients, they said, Billy, you always see. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, you always see everybody. And I go, well, not always, but I said, I do agree that I see more than a lot of people allow themselves to, because a lot of times
Hmm.
we stay very closed. We're either tied to our phones or
Yeah.
we're in such a hurry to get from point A to point B
Right.
that we don't see anything in between the two. And I will stop in a heartbeat and run late somewhere if I see there is a need somewhere. I just take the time to address
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of people out there that just need our help, and I do my best to try and take the time to do just that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I'm sure that's a big part of the message of the documentary, isn't it? In terms of just everybody has such power to be able to empower, I guess, themselves to help others, right?
I do, yes. And
Hmm.
Taryn, to address a lot of times I get asked the question, "What is the nicest thing you think you've ever done?" And they're expecting something magnanimous that I
Hmm.
don't know. You made some big donation, or
Hmm.
you,
Hmm.
um, I don't know. But to me, it always surprises people that, and I've shared this with you, I think a long time ago, but it's worth repeating about. I don't read the Journal and Constitution much here in Atlanta. I get it, see it maybe once or twice a year.
Hmm.
um, so one day I'm leaving a building, the 335 building, in Decatur, Georgia, and I open the door with my hands full for a woman, and the woman says, "Thank you." Nobody opens the doors with their hands full, and I go, "I do." And
Hmm.
she goes, "Thank you." So we walk to our cars, and we're just a short distance between each other. And she goes, "I bet you're going to have a good weekend ahead of you." And I said, "Actually, it's going to be a tough weekend." I said, "I just unfortunately had to euthanize one of my dogs. Um,
Hmm.
and it's been tough." And that was the same day. And anyway, when I said that, the woman began crying uncontrollably. I'm
Hmm.
thinking, oh my gosh, what has just transpired here? I'm thinking maybe she just recently had a pet that she lost. I walk up to this woman who's about 5 foot nothing, Taryn. I'm about 6'1", and I just hold and give this woman a hug, and she is crying uncontrollably. And she goes, "I am so sorry." She goes, "This is a tough day for me." And I said, "How so? Is there anything I can do to help?" And she goes, "Well, tomorrow is the 1 year anniversary of my only child committing suicide."
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I went, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." The lady's
Hmm.
name, well, actually, I won't even use her name. But anyway, when I'm talking to her, she's describing her son. And I said, I only read the paper once or twice a year here. And she was talking about her son. And I said, was your son on the front page of the Journal and Constitution a few months ago? Um, he unfortunately had been doing very well, but had a relapse and was found in a car of an overdose.
Mm.
And Tara and I happened to have read the paper about this young man who had his struggles. And that was one of the few times I looked at the paper. And in that moment, that lady and I connected.
Hmm.
And I asked her about her son and about the good times and about her son. And it gave her a little bit of relief and to help alleviate some of the sadness in the
Hmm.
moment. And I asked her if she'd ever gone to any parents with support groups for parents who had lost kids, and she said yes, but they didn't seem to help
Hmm.
because she'd go to the support groups, and a lot of times the parents would share where they'd receive signs from their children, and that made them feel better. And this lady said, "I've never received a sign." And I told her, just because you don't receive a sign about your son Zach doesn't mean that he's not in a good place. You carry your
Yeah.
love for him in your heart, and he's good. And afterwards, Robin, she thanked me. And
Hmm.
anyway, I she gave me her card. Well, I had her address, so I sent her a card. Um, and put a Starbucks card in it and said, "Sending you a big hug. Have a cup of coffee on me sometime." And little did she know, I don't believe in like a coincidence. We had two dogs at the time. One was named Tank, and the other, I'll tell you his name in just a second, because I put both these pups on postage stamps that I sent to my partner when he would be traveling, so he would be able to see the dogs because he was gone so much of the time. Well, I put on that card a postage stamp of our dog who um, was still alive. And it happened that I drew an arrow to where the stamp goes along the side of the envelope. And I put, "Sending you a hug from Zach." Zach was the name of our other dog. He was a Springer Spaniel. By the way, my dog's name is Zach. And Robin sent me a letter that said, "What a coincidence that my best friend said, who gives you a hug, listens to you, puts a Starbucks card, um, and then sends a card with a postage stamp with a dog named Zach on it." Taryn, there's no luck or coincidence that
Hmm.
I had a dog named Zach, and she needed a sign, and she put at the bottom of the note, "Thanks for for being my sign."
Mm.
She felt a sense of relief because that was a sign she had always been searching for, and now she said that had given her peace of mind. What greater gift can you give someone than peace of mind? It cost me
Mm.
so little. It just took me the time to see somebody who was hurting.
Wow. Yeah, that's just an amazing story. That's just so wonderful to be able to
Truly the most impactful thing I've ever
yeah.
done for
Oh
somebody
yeah.
in my life, because all that lady needed was a sign.
Hmm.
And I don't know
Hmm.
about you, Taryn, but I don't know many people that put their dogs on postage stamps. And it just, that was just, there was no luck or coincidence involved.
No, you're the first to tell me that, Billy. And in fact, I didn't even know that was possible to do something like that. So that is just what a incredible story. That's just so amazing.
And Taryn, it's so funny because we talked about this on a previous chat that we've had. I said,
Hmm.
I noticed the state of the world by the way we drive. And I continue to
Oh
talk to people
yes.
about that. And I
Hmm.
tell people, if we would all treat each other with kindness and respect on the highway, we could change traffic in a week.
Oh
In a
yes.
week,
Hmm.
we could change the
Hmm.
whole nature, because I think many times the way we drive is maybe our lives are a little bit out of control.
Hmm.
We feel pushed, rushed. We're not thinking about the other person. And maybe if we were more considerate on the road and more kinder towards one another, maybe when we get to that next destination, we would open ourselves up and be more kinder to those we come in contact, instead of being feeling like we're behind the eight ball whenever we reach that destination that we've rushed to, that we've run caution lights, we've run red lights.
Hmm.
We've been speeding all along, and then as soon as we get out of the car, we're just rushing again. We don't take the time to see anything. Um,
Hmm.
if we could just make little bitty steps, it would go a long way to make leaps and bounds to making things better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that kind of our society is driven that way, where we're kind of maybe some of us allow ourselves to be pushed kind of too hard at work or feel like we're under pressure. And there's definite, legitimacy to that. But then you see people that are, like you just said, rushing and in a hurry, and they don't want to be late and everything. And if just, something as simple as, I always tell, other people, just go to bed half an hour earlier and give yourself half an hour earlier in the morning to get some extra cushion or, time. Because that's how I am. I always try to be somewhere early because it's inevitable. Something's always going to happen. There's going to be an accident, especially here in Atlanta. I mean, gosh, you're right about
Always.
the traffic is just so not only congested, but it is very aggressive. Some of these aggressive drivers, and you hear about road rage, but especially here in Atlanta, no question about it.
And definitely I understand that, having been hit, as we said, a couple of years ago. It took me a
Mm-hmm.
good 6, 7 months
Mm-hmm.
to correct some of the issues from that accident. I'm fine
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yeah.
But it was like all because someone was in a hurry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or they're not paying attention because they're on their phone. You see that all the time. How many times do you see someone on their cell phone when they're driving?
That is so true. And, here in Georgia, it's a hands-free state. Yet I see most people still with holding phones in their
Mm-hmm.
hands, and they're just talking away. It's just I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. I always
Yeah.
say just one act of kindness at a time. If we keep building on that, hopefully it becomes contagious. And I always say, when you're having a down day and you come across a friend, a colleague, or someone you haven't seen that you run into, it lights you up from the
Mm-hmm.
inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an energy that, if we could all bring that energy, um, and try and do that in our daily lives, just the same as when sometimes you come into a room and there's somebody whose energy and who's having a bad day and might be angry or whatever, you pick up on that energy, and
Oh,
everybody
yeah.
goes, oh my gosh, and it sets the tone. So if you try and do the opposite of that, it just lifts the spirit in the room.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
there's no
always hear about
question.
people, yeah, always hear about people, Taryn, that they say they like to see so and so because they're always in such a good mood.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I go back to saying I think they probably live in a state of gratitude instead of a state of lack.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really key, Billy. Who's a good example of that is our mutual friend Craig. How many times have you ever seen him angry or upset and pissed off and not wanting to be around him because he's negative? I don't think that's ever happened for
I don't
the
think
time
so
I've seen him.
either. He's
Yeah.
always in a good mood, and he's always helping and giving of his
Yep.
expertise as a dentist
Yep.
to
Yeah.
those who are less fortunate.
Absolutely. He probably does more pro bono work out of his office than any other person I've ever met in my life, as far as that, goes in terms of
I
giving.
I agree. I've known him for,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how long now, over 20 some years.
Mm-hmm.
And the man
Mm-hmm.
just gives and gives and gives to
Mm-hmm.
others. And
Mm-hmm.
believe me, when it comes to your smile, there's no greater gift than you can give to a person
Oh
than to
yeah.
help them, because that, your smile is your first impression.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good point. You're right.
It
Yeah.
really, really is.
Mm-hmm.
If everybody could give of whatever, especially if you have a talent or a gift, and if you could help share that talent or gift with someone, or mentor someone, or do something pro bono, or just give back in thankfulness for that talent or gift you've been giving,
Mm-hmm.
that's how you build, that's how you make a ripple, and that's how you create a wave.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true, Billy. And very well said. Every single one of us can do that. I can learn to do that myself. And I'm going to try my best to do a better job of that as well. You've inspired me. But Billy, this has been so great, as it always is with you, and we appreciate your time. Before we let you go, though, why don't we wrap up and kind of before we get you out of here, any final thoughts on other stuff going on with Bump It Up, and any final thoughts on the documentary? And also, let's make sure to plug how people can learn more about Bump It Up.
I'm looking forward to meeting Michelle again in 6 weeks and
Hmm.
seeing, how the team is coming together. Once they get the team together, we'll actually start shooting it. And I said we're kind of hoping maybe in the next 2 or 3 months, but we'll see how that goes. And you can always learn more about the Bump Experiment by going to the Bump Experiment .com. I'm also on Instagram as the Bump Experiment and the Bump It Up guy, and Twitter and Facebook as well.
All over social media. That's
I
great.
am kind of.
Good. Excellent. You're all over Atlanta too with all the
I
driving
am
you
all
do.
over Atlanta.
Oh, that's great, Billy. Well, thank you so much as always. Really appreciate you coming on here and making the our video blogs a better place with all of your infectious, positive inspiration. And we can all get a lot out of that. So keep up everything you're doing. You really are an inspiration, as I said.
Well, thank you, Taryn. I appreciate your time, and thanks for having me on again.
My pleasure, Billy. And as we fade to black, here comes your contact information right now. And we'll catch you next time, and be safe and have a happy holiday weekend.
You too, Taryn. Take care.
Thank you. We'll see you next time, Billy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.